All right, here's some news you can use. What happens if we take the label fake news and we do away with that and we give it another label, something I like to call emotive news, because I'm sure we can all agree that the emotions attached to fake news is very much real, right? But the logic, the reasoning behind those emotions, that's questionable. I'm sure we're all going to be at odds with one another in terms of that. But one thing we all can agree on is that when it comes to fake news, the emotions that people are expressing very much real. And so what happens when you have like state news, for example, because that's what it is, right? Cast stones at what's called fake news, right? Well, what that does is it puts a cap on it, doesn't it? It limits, it restricts, it dismisses it as unimportant or damaging even, right? But the problem with that is that obviously the emotions are very much real, and we all know what happens to a lot of people when they're not able to express themselves freely, right? They just bury it until one day it explodes, right? In often in a healthy way, right? So I guess the reason for this post is just that I've become aware that, I've started to question, well, what is news, right? Because I've always watched news on the TV traditionally, right? But I think it's more fair to say now that that kind of news is what I would probably find it more acceptable to call state news. And what's previously been known as fake news, I think that's more fair to comment that as, or to identify that as emotive news. And then let people decide, for themselves what actual news is. Now, from my perspective, the way I've always handled that is I've never tried. I guess it's because I got ADHD, I suppose. But I just, if I want to learn something or know something, like genuinely want to know it, I pursue it. Just dive into it, right? But not from one source, many sources. And that's really how you should approach, if you're looking for the truth, you should always try to exhaust as many sources as possible, right? Actually, it's very much similar, isn't it, to what I know now about life, and those of us who have awakened, and wanting to know one another, know ourselves, right? Through fractal and reflections of many different sources. I mean, that's how you really get the good news, isn't it? And it's also probably why the gospel is told by many different apostles and people, is because this is an underlying universal truth, I suppose, isn't it? So yeah, just some news